You're listening to the APSE Podcast, the Association of People Supporting Employment First, with your host, Chris Davies. Today's podcast is brought to you by Reach for Resources, a nonprofit providing individualized, competitive employment services for people with disabilities. We believe our community is a better place when it is inclusive and everyone, regardless of ability, has the chance to be successful. Learn more at reachforresources.org.
Hello, everyone. Hello, and welcome back to the Minnesota APSE Podcast. Here we are, Season 5, Episode 6. So delighted to have our guest here with us today. Representing and part of Cow Tipping Press, we have Shaunte Martin here with us today, and we also have Laron Gatlin-Dean with us today. And we've been sitting here chit-chatting, getting to know each other. You are going to kind of love hearing from these two. They have a lot of really important things to say, creative things to say. We're gonna get creative here today because Cow Tipping Press is a very creative organization. So we're excited for that. As I always like to do, and you know, anybody that has watched this or hasn't watched this podcast before, I am your host, Chris Davies, and I always like to talk a little bit about, you know, what APSE is. So for anybody that might not have heard of us before, so APSE stands for Association for People Supporting Employment First. It's a national organization. We, of course, have a state chapter here in Minnesota where we're recording from our studio in Little Canada today. But it's truly the only membership organization that solely promotes the idea of competitive, integrated employment for all. Everybody means everybody. And we believe everybody can work, and that work is indeed the avenue out of poverty and isolation. So that's what APSE is. Been around for since the late 80s. So we've been around a while, been around the block. I wouldn't say we're the oldest organization in the country, but we're getting there. And in Minnesota, one of the things we do is we focus on this podcast so we can just get stories out, allow people to come in here and, you know, with this platform, talk about themselves, talk about what they do, their hopes and dreams for the world, things like that. So we're excited to get into it and learn more about Shaunte and Laron here. And but before I do that, you know, I would love, if you'll allow me, I'd love to read the mission statement for Cow Tipping Press because it's pretty cool. And this is the part of the podcast where I put on my reading glasses, so I don't want to misread something. Okay. All right. So Cow Tipping Press teaches and publishes writing by people with intellectual and developmental disabilities, giving audiences a new way to think about this rich form of human diversity in practice and in print. That's good stuff. So the first question I'd like to get out there or to have you talk about with our audience today is just a little bit more about Cow Tipping Press. You know, tell us from your words, what is Cow Tipping Press and, you know, your experience with it. So I'm going to pass it over to Shaunte first. So Shaunte, please take her away.
Hello, everybody. My name is Shaunte Martin. I was a student that took a lot of the Cow Tipping Press classes. I took about 5 of them or 6 of them. I started as a student. I started writing stories about my life, about what has happened in my life that was based on my life stories. Some of them are fiction, non-fiction stories, and some of them I have wrote about our mother and about where I grew up as a growing up child in a foster home with about 18 siblings that I've had. I'm basically proud of my journey. as being part of the cow tipping staff team and a co-worker and working with people with intellectual disabilities and able to share my stories and able to believe in the rich of the cow tipping press and what it means to me. It means that it's so creative and the art is so beautiful and everything has really changed my life and hopefully I will continue to be a public speaker and just my hopes and my dreams are to follow my dreams and going to the world and letting people know in the world that how people with disabilities are important and what it means to be a person with a disability. Some people have visible disabilities, and it can be depression, it can be anxiety, it can be schizophrenic, it can be any kind of disability that people have with, reading, writing, and I grew up not being able to read. I had trouble reading in school, but I finally had a teacher that helped me with my reading and my writing. So that's how I really decided once I was 18, I wanted to get out in the world and tell people my story. And it's been a blessing. It's been a journey that I always will cherish. And I always will continue speaking up for myself and speaking up for others with disabilities that hopefully that they will have their dreams and their hopes and their lives come true as well, because anything is possible.
Yeah, that is really well said. Before we hand it over to you, Laron, Shaunte, how long have you been connected and involved with Cow Tipping Press?
I applied on. I started taking classes way back in way long time ago. Maybe I would say 15, 20 years ago. And stuff like that, and around, with cow tipping for maybe, I can't even think how many years right now.
Well, let's just say it's been a long time, right? Yeah, and so many wonderful experiences. And I loved that you talked about just the challenges you had growing up, but then when that sounds like a teacher really, made a huge difference in your life and helping you learn to read and to write.
Yes.
And is it fair to say then that you discovered that you had a talent for this?
Yes, I really did know I really had a talent. I mean, I was like wondering what cow tipping is and what it was, and so I got to take a class and say, hey, I'm just so proud of myself for being able to get out of my comfort zone. And I was a shy person. I was a shy kid. I wouldn't talk. I wouldn't say a word. But now I can feel like I can be me without having so many different challenges. And I've overcome fetal alcohol syndrome. I've overcome that. I'm overcome that. And so I got to realize that I'm a woman that's determined to do something. When I say I'm going to do something, I'm going to determine to get out there and do it and keep continuing to be a public speaker, to be able to be that until I don't know where. I know my journey is going to bring me into great places in the next years. So that's what my hopes and dreams are.
I love it. I love it. And you are, I think, as we can all tell, right, a very articulate speaker, very passionate. So, yeah, it sounds like you're in a wonderful place. And you're right. It's a journey, and it's going to lead you, lots of different places. So, very good stuff. Well, let's hear from our other guest, Laron. Laron, maybe you can tell our listeners today, a little bit more about your experiences with Cow Tipping Press and what it means to you.
Hello, my name is Laron Gatlin-Dean, and I'm so excited to be on the show with Shaunte. And my big experience about cow tipping is that I write good stories and do creative writing in the class. And at Accord in Human Rights, we also watched the show of Born This Way that's written by A&E. At Accord in Human Rights class, we watched the show called Born This Way on A&E. There are people around here on the show of Born This Way because we saw the first season and the first episode of Born This Way on A&E online while we're in Human Rights in Accord. Because we know about human rights in Accord. And we also learned from the show of Born This Way that all the people in the world on the show of Born This Way by A&E, they go bowling and they share stories together. And then we also did some creative writing about some stories that we did in cow tipping class. I wrote a story about the Pizza Hut commercial where Jessica Simpson does the Pizza Hut commercial with the Muppets in 2004. And then after that, I also wrote a story about another Pizza Hut commercial about Jessica Simpson. When Jessica Simpson does the Pizza Hut commercial with her friends, she got the buffalo chicken pizza from Pizza Hut. And then after that, when Jessica Simpson is eating some buffalo chicken pizza with her friends, she saw something over there on the other side. And Jessica Simpson was like, I know buffaloes don't have wings, but when she saw something over there, she saw buffaloes with wings because when she saw something over there, she saw buffaloes with wings sound like chickens, and that made her mouth drop, and she felt very surprised. And when Jessica Simpson ate the buffalo chicken pizza with her friends, she saw something over there. She saw buffaloes with wings that make chicken sounds, and Jessica Simpson's mouth dropped, and she felt very surprised. But you know what? When I watched A&E's show of Born This Way, I learned that Christina, Sean, Megan, Elena, Rachel, and John share good stories together, and they go out and spend time together, and they love each other as friends. Annie's show of Born This Way is my favorite one. And I looked up YouTube videos of Born This Way on A&E because I learned something about the show. I learned that Christina is going bowling with Elena and John, and because they're friends together, they make everyone smile in the whole world.
Thank you. Thank you, Laron. I think I remember that commercial with Jessica Simpson, and I love the way you described the show on A&E, Born This Way. Have you ever done any writing? Because you really did such a great synopsis there of the show. Have you ever done any writing, what am I trying to say? Like promotional writing for a show or descriptive writing about what shows are? Like when you watch a show and it says, "What's this show's about?" Have you ever done anything like that?
I certainly do. I wrote a story about the show of Born This Way, and I liked it.
Very cool. Very cool. And thanks for talking about some of your favorite things. We're going to circle back probably even before we're done today on some other things that you've done. Going back to you, Shaunte, I know one of the things you've done to promote cow tipping is you've been involved in some promotional videos and have really been, if I could say, an ambassador for Cow Tipping Press and the mission and what you do. Can you tell us more about the videos and what your part was in them?
The videos, my part was to be able to get people involved. And so since I became an Inclusion Associate, I was so happy when I was able to work with them and to be able to meet them. And I was really surprised. And I went online and saw this organization. I was trying to figure out what it was and what types of things that, they were asking me on the application, and seeing it online. And I was like, okay, I can go ahead and apply for this organization. As soon as I learned about Cow Tipping Press and when it was founded and everything, I was so glad. And my sister-in-law was so happy that I was able to get this job and work and be an ambassador. And, I've been continuing to be an ambassador ever since. My mother died. I just keep going and going. And it's making me stronger and feel good about not only be able to be who I am, to believe in the world and to believe in the world that we come from, that people with disabilities just want to be equal. We want to be together. We don't want to be segregated. We want to be integrated in the most integrated settings, and to be able to work, play, and be able to hang out with people of all denominations and all kinds of inclusive settings.
And what was your favorite part about being in the video?
My favorite part about being in the video is just to see so many people, to be able to be an audience, to see like how it is, and being like a star, like a TV star and like a radio star. And it's just like I feel like my dreams have came true. I feel like I'm strong and I can keep a good conversation with people, and people know how I've known well to be able to do these type of things, and to know that my family and all families of me are just so proud of me. And my life has been, I feel like a new different person that didn't think she had these opportunities. And ever since then, I just feel relieved, and I feel like I believed in who I was, and everybody else believed in me.
Well, that is, it's really inspiring to hear. Not every human, can say that they feel like they've achieved what they're meant for. And, that's very inspiring, and kind of gave me a little goosebumps there when you were talking. So that's, congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah, big time. Big time. So, okay, switching gears a little bit, Laron, with the way I understand it, with Cow Tipping Press is you can be a fellow, or a teacher, or associate. Is that one of the a student? Okay, is associate a student? So you can be a student, a fellow, or a teacher. Laron, would you talk about all the different, because I think you've done, have you been a fellow? I think you've been a fellow and a teacher. Just talk about your experiences and the different things that you've done and what they are at cow tipping.
Well, I'm a fellow member of cow tipping and a student at cow tipping and Accord because I go to Accord training every Monday night from 6 to 8:30. And then I started my first day of cow tipping at the ACT building from 5:30 to 7:30. And I started cow tipping class at Accord from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. It's a 2-hour class. And I want good stories about something in cow tipping class. I want a story about Tinkerbell and her fairy friends. And Tinkerbell and her fairy friends make real magic in the forest because I saw some Tinkerbell movies on the Disney live action. I also wrote a story about Disney fairies about Tinkerbell and her friends. And I also learned that Tinkerbell can fly with her fairy wings, even with her friends. And when I get home, when I go out somewhere, when I get home, I'm gonna write a good story about the Annie's. When I get home on the weekend, and maybe on the weekday, I can write a story about Annie's show of Born This Way.
So it sounds like you're getting some inspiration right here from this conversation, and it sounds like Disney has been a big inspiration for you in your writing and things like that. I love it. Before we get into some other stuff, are there any? I want to ask Shaunte if there's any stories that you come to mind that are some of your favorites that you've written that you want to share with us.
Well, the story that I've written and the pieces, I pray everyday living, which is a piece that I wrote about seeing a world that I see like everybody in the streets dancing together, singing together, just, bringing enclosure for those families who were involved in the Sandy Hook and the Sandy Hook killings, and just hoping that their memories go on, and that was really sad, really sad and like really scary, because we just never know. And those was in Texas, and that was really scary for me too, because I get worried, and it just brought my life to tears, because I was like writing that piece, and that piece is that I see a world that people with disabilities have laws that protect us, and we wouldn't have to, without these programs and day programs, we won't have nowhere to be if our services were cut, and our Medicare and insurance and our medications. And so I was like, I'm going to write a story about this. And this is what I pray everyday life is. And I've seen a lot of tragic things. And I was just like, that we don't have to wear masks at all. That was that COVID time. And so it was like that we don't have to be worried about wearing masks anywhere we go, or anywhere we go anymore. And everything started to get back to normal. And then that's when that poem that I wrote was just reminded me of a world that I see that people are equal.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. So it sounds like you've really done, a lot of writing around some events that have been very difficult, in the world. And, that's a really big thing, to do that. And it can bring other people some sense of some sense of, I don't know if I want to call it relief, but some sense of comfort in knowing that, that these things aren't taken lightly, and that you believe in a better world. So that's some pretty heavy lifting there, and I'm really impressed. So let's talk just about the idea of self-advocacy. I know both of you have been really involved, and you've talked a little bit about it, here today, and some of the things that you've expressed in your, beliefs in the world. And I'm right there with you. I think the world is meant to be lived in by all of us, period, the end. And so I really agree with all the things that you've said. Talk a little bit about some of the things you've done. We're going to start with you, Laron. Just in self-advocacy, some of the things you've done and you believe in.
In self-advocacy, we write some posters. We do posters in self-advocacy, and we go to the Axe building to do self-advocacy. In self-advocacy, we do the self-advocacy festival at the Capitol State Building. We also write posters, and we take them to the Axe building, and we do the posters at the state capitol in Minnesota. We also went to the church for Power Day to talk about self-advocacy, and we write posters, and we draw some posters. We create posters at the Power Day building with Patrick, and we also celebrated together we also celebrate together at the self-advocacy at the state capitol building. We always celebrate together at the state capitol building for self-advocacy.
Very impressive. Wow, you were involved in a lot of different self-advocacy movements and events throughout the year. That's fantastic, Laron. Shaunte, tell us a little bit more about your involvement in self-advocacy.
Well, my involvement is that I was involved in self-advocacy when it was a guy named Rick Cardenas. He was a guy that was in a wheelchair, and he came to our workplace, which was on 1246 University, and that's where I started. And he was a guy that came and asked people were they interested in doing self-advocacy. So I said yes. And ever since Rick Cardenas, he was such a great man, such a great advocate, such a determined activist in this world, and learning about different advocates that were truly movie stars, and like wondering, how their journeys were, and learning about Junie Human. Junie Human was a woman in a wheelchair that she went to the state of Washington, and she got they determined to get the 504 right across and build across. So they crawled up the stairs, and there were people laying on the floor. There were people like getting the legislators to understand why that right was important. So they marched for like 23 days. They marched. And so they were able to finally get that 504 crossed, and the bill finally got signed. And it was Teddy Roosevelt was the president in those days. And so that was a very great opportunity to know about her and to know about Lewis and Elaine, and to learn about this guy. His name is Ed, and he was in an iron thing that helped him because he had polio, and he was laying in the iron machine that will help him breathe. And so he fought for people with disabilities to be able to work in the same place and people would stare at him because he had a tube down his throat and stuff like that. So they were determined on the train. They got on the train, and he ended up having a kid with his wife. So everybody would stare at him, stare at his kid, and to learn about him and to learn about Maya Lee is another activist, and to be excited about Crip Camp is what we watched on Julie Human, and some of the pep talks that we were able to do and be able to talk about, and the book club that we have, and the conferences, and me and one of the other person, we do coffee chats on Mondays from 10 to 11. It's at the ACT building. The address to the ACT building is 1821 University, St. Paul, Minnesota, 55104. And if anybody in the audience is listening to me and Laron, just know that you're important out there. You guys are so important to us. And to reach out to the Advocating Change Together website, we have a website that anybody is able to go on, and then they'll be able to see all the events on the calendar. It will just show up on there. I'm so proud of who we are, and to be able to be on the ACT staff team has been amazing, and to be a journey and to experience things, even when times were COVID times and things were hard and things were tough. But we've came so far, and we have more work to do. The fight is not over yet. We still have a lot of work to do as people with disabilities to keep these right movements going and keep the rights movements for the gun violence to keep going and keep having the kids in school and going to schools and talking about what it is to be a person with a disability, or to teach students, or to go to a classroom with students in first or second grade, just to go in there and talk about that.
Yeah. Oh, thank you. Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you talking about some of the pioneers, in the disability rights movement, and our local hero, if you will, Rick Cardenas. I knew Rick from a while back. He was an amazing man, and I can see how he would have had that impact when you got to meet him and all that he was about. He was really amazing. And so are you. And so are you, Laron. Let's switch gears a little bit into something kind of fun that Cow Tipping Press does every year. As you've mentioned, Cow Tipping Press is a community, and it's about building community and helping people creatively get out into the community, also get their impact the world with their creative human experiences. And from what I understand, you now will be 6 years running next August, get together once a year for sort of an annual festival, if you will, with the Cow Tipping Press community and friends. And you used to call it Cowchella, right? Named after the festival in Palm Springs, California, which I just learned about 20 minutes ago, or however long we've been talking. But really a funny thing. I guess the people from Coachella, the Coachella Festival, didn't like the fact that you used a little play on words, Cowchella, and they wrote a cease and desist order. So anybody out there involved with Coachella, I think that is absolutely hilarious and beyond the pale. And so, I mean, give me a break, right? So, but anyway, you came up with another awesome name, which is now it's called Deja Moo. Deja Mu. Did I get all that right? Yeah. Okay. So enough about me speaking about it. I'd like to hear from the experts who are involved with formerly Coachella, now known as Deja Mu. Tell us all about this festival. Would you like to go first, Laron?
Yeah.
Awesome.
What we do in Deja Mu, located at 262 University Avenue West in St. Paul, Minnesota, is that we take a look around. There's food trucks, and there's festivals. There's a festival here. There's food trucks. There's book releases and all kinds of stuff. And we also did some reading there, and we also interviewed Pam Williams, who was a couch tipping champion winner. And Pam read her stories with passion, and I read my stories with real passion when I speak so loudly and clear.
Thank you, Laron. And Shaunte, tell us your take on Deja Mu.
Well, I mean, when it was Coachella, I was just like, okay, and I was just like, it's such a festival. I mean, it's so like community basis, and the Deja Mu is basically like live music, and the people that reached out to us and wanted a table and wanted to say yes, and we reach out to different organizations to see if they're wanting to table with us, and it was a lot of organizations that reached out to us, and we're able to call them and be able to say, hey, do you guys want to table next year for next year's Deja Mu? And we reach out to a lot of people, radio stations, a lot of different types of any kind of like people that do food or anybody that has art, and if they sell stuff, then there's a org that is like a org that we have. And a couple of years ago we had a fashion show from the people at the Arca, Minnesota is another one that had a fashion show and stuff like that. The Arca, Minnesota is another organization that is a great organization. They've been around for years, and so it was fun to know that they've been around for so long, and they're a group of people with disabilities, and we had Dreamlight Destiny and Advocating Change Together. We had so many different vendors out there and food vendors. It's been a great experience. Pam Williams, I love her to death. She is a great author, and she was so happy. She was so proud of herself that she's able to do that. And it brought me to tears because I was so excited, how excited she was. And I mean, Pam Williams is a great friend. She's always there for me, always there for us. We always can count on her. And the way that she's able to write her own book and just like get it published, it's amazing to me. It's so amazing to us, so amazing to me and Laron, just to see how happy she was. And me and Laron took over the last standing of it and saying Pam is a winner, and chicken dinner and stuff. And it was just like everybody was like getting hyped up. You know, I'm a hype up woman and I get the crowd going. I love it. And stuff.
Oh wow! I bet you do. I bet you get everybody excited. That's fun. So Deja Mu, it's every August, right? So it'll be next August, 2026. As Laron said, it's at 262 University Avenue in St. Paul. I live literally walking distance from there. I could walk there if I wanted to. So I think I have no reason not to be at Deja Move 2026. What do you say? Should I be there? Yeah, I can't wait. I can't wait. And for anybody, that wants to learn more about Cow Tipping Press and keep an eye on Deja Mu and when it's planned for, all those kind of things, website, you cannot forget it, cowtippingpress.com. Thank you. It's cowtippingpress.org. Cowtippingpress.org. And for people like me, there's 2 P's in tipping. I'm seriously the worst with P's and double T's. And anyway, so cowtippingpress.org is the website. Any last words you have for our audience, people listening today? Anything you want to do or say before we wrap up? And Laron, take her away.
I would like to say thank you for watching our show, and we hope to see you on YouTube because when we do our show, make sure you go on YouTube and check out our podcast video that we did here in Little Canada, Minnesota.
I just want to say thank you for all the blessings. I mean, people out there, we are so blessed, and we are so wonderful, and I just love this podcast to be able to be the stars that we both are, and to be at these recordings that we both are, and it's just amazing. And if anybody that's listening to us today, that we all know that we come together over these times, and we are people that are wonderful, creative, unique, spectacular, just lovable lives that really fill people's hearts with love and one in equality and community and equalness and kindness. And just know that we have a chance to be on this broadcast and through the world out there, because if it wasn't for us, we wouldn't be all together. This has been an opportunity, and I love it so much that I always will cherish this for the rest of my life. Because without you guys, I wouldn't be here. We wouldn't be here if these laws weren't crossed or these bills weren't passed. We wouldn't have these day programs and organizations, and to be able to live, work, and play what we want to do, go where we want to do, where we want to do, and how we want to do it, and just keep up the work that we are doing all over the world. And Special Olympics, and plus the other organizations that are out there. And if anybody's listening, go to advocatingandchangetogether.org and go to our website, and it will show you the calendar and what we do. And that's all I say. Gotta say is God bless you all for listening.
Thank you for watching on today's show. And don't forget to go on YouTube and check out our podcast, because we never stop doing things that are right. Because there's no stopping us doing the right things. Because we do right things, we work together, and we make a lot of cash.
You are professional writers. Indeed. Wow. I don't know. I always close up this podcast. I don't know if I can top anything that the two of you just said. But I just want to read this last part of your mission statement at Cow Tipping Press. A new way, it says, giving audiences a new way to think about this rich form of human diversity in practice and in print. Clearly, the two of you are making that mission happen every day. it's really inspiring, and it's fun to see people that are living, eating, breathing, these things, and you talked about doing the right things, and that can mean writing, right, Laron, and also writing about what's right, and talking about what's right in this world, and you both certainly did that today. I can't thank you enough. You talked about blessings, Shaunte, and it's a blessing for me to be the host of this podcast. So I get to meet people like you and Laron today. So just everybody remember, this has been Shaunte Martin and Laron Gatlin-Dean today with us from cowtippingpress.org, and could not have been happier to sit down here with you today. What a wonderful way to spend the morning of Friday, October 18th, 2025. And just, you talked about this, Shaunte. Be nice to each other out there. Be kind to each other. We're a community. We really got to take care of one another. And never forget, if you believe it, you can achieve it.